this is Daniel Whiting Jr. of Derivative Content, back again with another episode. Now, today is a turbulent one. Emotions are running high, and we had to figure out a way to calm things down because everything's very undecided. But you know what thing is not undecided is the awesome music of Tame One. The first time I've ever seen Tame One was when the video Eastern Conference All Stars starts up, and you see a
Oh
man
yeah.
in a blue hazmat suit holding a flare, rapping his ass off, exiting a van, and just flinging that thing wildly around, just being a wild MC. And that tape, in and of itself, is how I
I'm
got
the hip hop
introduced to
Anthony
underground rap.
Burgess. Is he really
Right
wearing
on.
a blue one? Is he, I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
orange.
No, it's blue. The flare might be orange or red.
Well, I don't know. That's Mandela or something maybe. But yeah, I guess
Anyways,
that might have been like the first time I seen him too. Now that I think about it, something like that.
yeah, this was in 2013 when Tolkien first showed up to the community school, and I knew about hip hop. I was listening to Biggie and Eminem and just early Wu Tang, I think, just the hits. I would say
Hmm.
knew some Ice Cube. I knew some of the things that was on the iTunes 99-cent store. That was how I was getting exposed to music. But then here comes a tape called the Eastern Conference All Stars 3. And it introduced me to a world of other artists, a world of techniques. Like, you don't have to be a multi gajillion dollar producer making this stuff. It's if the words connect with the beat, connect with the listener, that's all you need. That is just the exchange that goes on between a hip hop listener that makes it music that they can relate to and feel impacted by in and of itself. Two other tapes was copyrights phony carbon ah carbon copies phony art pub scam, a free now Bandcamp release on Man Bites Dog, where Copyright, who was also a MC on Eastern Conference record label, which was the High and Mighty, a Philadelphia based like the hip
It's
hop world
definitely
and DJ.
like you got what's his name? You know his stage name. High and Mighty. You just said it. It's definitely Philly guy.
DJ Mighty My,
Yeah,
Mr.
DJ Mighty My. Both of them, I'm pretty sure, or at least Meltzer. That's his last name. Oh,
And it's funny that another album by underground artist R.A. the Rugged Man, Legends Never Die, I was exposed to those three tapes. Funny
yeah.
enough,
Easter Conference
all
3,
those
I think, is where I heard Tame the first time, actually. Which might
first
have
time I
that
heard R.A.
song
the
on it.
Rugged Man,
It,
first time I heard Copyright,
was like the
first time
third
I
time
heard.
I heard Rugged Man. I got into Rugged Man, and like that pipeline kind of leads to Eastern Conference, even though he didn't like that song. He did not like that song with them.
I get it. I mean, but that Jay Zone Brawl xylophone goes pretty hard.
It's the
It's
hardest
kind of
one.
sad because Jay Zone completely like took down all of his releases on Spotify, makes it very hard to go and look for his rap stuff. I
See,
mean, you
that's
could
why I'm
probably
glad
find
I never
93
got
for one.
really into J Zone, but like I understand because he makes the best
He
beats ever.
was a
We have a
hilarious.
CD somewhere, maybe. Look in the CDs.
Mm-hmm. Job ain't nothing but work
Yeah,
is
it's just
the
like oh
CD from 2004,
yeah, it's
where
like
he
an
went.
older one.
He did some others though too, but mainly he's a drummer now for the Do Rights. He
Hmm.
completely reinvented himself as a funk drummer, and good for him. His albums are amazing, but that's not what we're talking about. Sorry, this is very tangent laced episode, but we'll steer it right back to Tame One. Now, Tame One is Redman's first cousin, and believe it or not, Tame One was actually rapping before Redman. Redman was a DJ and was influenced in '86 or '87 when EPMD's first record came out to start rapping. But Tame One and Elda Sensei were rhyming all the way back in '84, '86. We can say safely because they have a demo tape out from '88. I'm
Yeah,
assuming the year. I don't know the year.
you
Bad hip
can
hop historian,
you
but
can listen to Tame One say it in the song. The only reason I remember is it's in his lyrics. He says the demo tape from '88.
that's probably the lyric that's stuck in my head.
But you can also look it up and be like, find it, and it's dated around then, maybe earlier songs, but it's put together around then.
Yes. So Tame One had a group called the Artifact. Well, actually, that group's name goes by a lot of different names. It went by the Brick City Kids, went by That's Them, and before finally settling on the Artifact. The Artifacts are a graffiti hip hop crew when graffiti was really dying out and hip hop became, well, we could say it now, a freak off. It certain elements got
Although we
sidelined.
could talk about the Africa Bombata stuff too if we want. And Tame kind of had connections with him, not like him fully, but you know, he's got the medallion
with the
from him and everything. Not like
with
it's
the Zulu
bad.
Nation.
Not like that's bad. Not like it's bad to have the medallion from the Zulu Nation. Just like you know African Babata and then what happened with him. So with hip hop, it's just something that's already been around. You can see, and we're not canceling anybody, obviously. But
We are. We are just explaining why certain elements are not as popular as they once was. And Artifact was a four element of hip hop group. They gave it about the beats, the DJ, the graffiti, and the lyrics. They cared about the village. And it shows
yeah,
in the music. As
and
Between a Rock and a Hard Place, 1994, and that's them, released on Big Beat, Atlantic, later Warner Brothers, are really solid '90s hip hop albums in the same vein of something like Digging in the Crates or Wu Tang or even Boot Camp Clan. Just very, they lyrically black out on tracks. It's all about MCs having to prove themselves over these dusty, jazzy, murky beats. It sounds like a layer of smoke is over the entire production.
I like that's them mostly because I like the Sean J period. But those the old Between a Rock and a Hard Place. The reason I really got into that was you can go back a second to maybe the demo tape, maybe some older stuff. Listen to the demos for that, and it makes me appreciate it so much more. But I almost always listen to
Yep.
the old versions of like Wrong Side of the Tracks because it's just so old sounding and like that sound I like. That's them as their high production stuff that I like.
let me shoot a question off. Is the two albums, are they remakes of all the songs from the demo tapes, or is it just Rock and a Hard Place? Or was
It's like
songs
certain
from Cat
songs.
7?
It's like just certain songs. It's the same thing you'll see later in Tame's career where it's like he released leaked to the public, but then some of those songs are just OG Bobby Johnson, his next album on Eastern Conference, his first one, I think, or something.
Mm,
So it's like that just tends to happen. It's not every song because there's songs on the demo tape that aren't on a Rock and a Hard Place, I think, and vice versa. There's songs you don't get to hear the old version of that are just on
interesting.
wrong
So is
side of
the
it.
Stretching Beto freestyle on there?
On the demo tape,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think it would have been because that would be. I mean, it might have been played like the way you could have listened to the demo tape. The way I've listened to like the full thing was on a radio thing. So like, if that makes sense. So you might have heard them at the same time on the radio.
that's very interesting. The reason I bring up Stretching Bobbito is, well, Bobbito was, well, Stretching Bobbito, a little bit of history, was a radio program where aspiring MCs would freestyle, and A&Rs from major labels would listen to these freestyles, this lyrical exercise and skill, and just spontaneous, like how Hot 97 or Sway in the Morning does it,
Mm-hmm.
where people just freestyle over five finger death beats and stuff like that. They were doing that back in the 90s. Biggie, Souls of Mischief, ODB, friggin' a bunch of people got signed just off the Stretch and Bobbito. Wu Tang got, like, blew up because of Stretch and Bobbito. Um, friggin'
Mm-hmm.
Buster Rhymes first, or Digging in the Crates, blew up because of that, which is Big L, Fat Joe, Big Pun. And the producer, Buckwild, produced Between the Rock and the Hard Place, along with T Ray from Soul Assassins, DJ Muggs' group right after Cypress Hill. So there is this nice East Coast, West Coast, like the dingy dungeon type of Cypress Hill beats, like the break beats and shit like that, is evident in Between a Rock and a Hard Place, where the Sean J. Period production is a lot smoother,
Oh
it's a
yeah,
lot vibier.
it's way more radio friendly.
It is. With the track The Ultimate,
Yeah, the
for
choruses
sure.
go on and on. I feel like actually, and I hate choruses, but on that record, it's like this is working. It just go. I don't.
Yes.
There's long choruses for hip hop in those songs that are just for radio. Come on with the come on, get down with the get down. Most of that song, I feel like it's come on with the come on, get down, which isn't bad. It's just like that's why it has success. I feel like
There's also a remix of that song, which is just insane. It
there's a
just sounds like a
bazillion of
merry-go-round.
remixes of that song, but yeah, I'm sure there's a good one out there. It's crazy. I've
Speaking
heard
of
most of them.
remixes, The Ultimate had a remix that I just found today,
That one's good.
which was done by Jay Dilla. Like,
Oh, that's a whole third one. Yeah, I think I've heard that.
hmm I mean, that was like an official thing. I thought a band put that together, but like,
No,
no, that's in the rarities.
that's yeah. There's already two remixes to that song. If you think it was because what they had at that time was they'd press the vinyl acapellas for themselves for the show, just like I always say we should do, kind of. And so you get those around. Jay Dilla ends up with one or something. It's the same way Jay Dilla ends up giving beats to copyright. Actually, like they're usable, or they like just talk to the label or whatever, and then you end up with that Jay Dilla beat on Cruise Control or whatever. Is that what it's on?
Mm-hmm. Another fire copyright album. But we got to do a copyright video sometime because this video is not about copyright. About
Yeah,
Tame One,
a
so we
little.
gotta.
He's in there. That's what I'm saying. I'm just these all branch out in directions. I'm fine with veering off for a second, but yeah, Tame.
Oh, it's good. It's good. But now we can further discuss what Tame One did after the
I was
artifacts
gonna
broke it.
say the Tame solo career is my favorite thing, and we could talk about the Elda Sensei beef or whatever, but it's not really necessary right now. It's more like,
Yeah,
yes,
sure.
Tame One solo career. I've always been like one of those people that I like his solo stuff more anyway. I support like his work on it's just because like
Yes.
he's really good at being original. He like gives you a
And
good key to be original.
what a solo song I heard when I was introduced to the Eastern Conference tape because his solo song is on the Eastern Conference tape,
No, yeah. You're
which is
talking when
Dreams
rappers
with his
attack?
theme.
Yeah, when rappers attack
Yeah, when
is
rappers attack.
Dreams is a good track off when rappers attack.
Dreams impacted me so much that I used money from a library card that allowed me to get like songs off iTunes. I downloaded Dreams as one of those songs back all the way in 2014. Just
The beginning of the song is like the first premonition of I feel like what your spirit experiences after death, you know? He says, I had a dream, I had a drink in the air, surrounded by people who
there,
cared.
surrounded by people who cared.
And it's like, it hit way harder after he died when I listened to that
Mm-hmm.
song. Because it was like, he's speaking through his work, you know?
Yeah, and I mean it's up and sad. It brings a tear to your eye on like the view counts on his videos on YouTube and stuff, and the people that don't know of his talent and his is just what he contributed to hip hop and shit. It's just
Yeah.
it's another thing lost in the sauce,
I
which
like the
we're trying very
I
hard to
like the
fix.
moment I feared off that record because it's like Slick Rick storytelling, and it shows how good of a rapper he is because he could do some storytelling. It's like, yeah, he's sonic. He's probably one of the best rappers. Just like, okay, this sonically sounds good, and the lyrics sound like a jumbly Eminem mess, but it's not. It actually is coherent, and you can but the moment
It
I
depends on
feared
the
is like
beat,
a
but
real storytelling song that he nails.
oh
There,
yeah,
it's hilarious. It's just like Slick Rick. It's like based on
Tane definitely had the inflections of like a Reggie Noble, but he definitely would make himself sound like a Fat Albert character in songs. He would be very animated. This further got into his solo career with a, the next few releases. Because after Rapper's Attack, Tame One was inducted into a super group called the Weathermen. And the Weathermen was comprised of Cage, an artist named Masai Bay, Breezy Bruin from the Juggernauts, copyright, Chikai the Motor Mouth, Cage? Not Cage. I don't think Cage made it in. LP,
Tage is a good mention though.
Kamuteo, and Yak Balls, and Vast Air from Cannibal Ox. That and later Aesop Rock once people left. But outside of that, this group, you're like, damn, like you could barely name them all. Like, how did the focus and attention turn to them? Well, they released one mixtape called The Conspiracy, and then not much after that as a group. As solo artists, they did their own thing like crazy. But the Weathermen have the Conspiracy tape with Tame One. I think he's on the reports of a kidnapping song, the one with the George Bush vampires sucking the Statue of Liberty cover. I think he's in that version of the group, but a lot of changes happen. And it's because this idea, while started with Cage of Eastern Conference, he was also on Fondle and Fossils as well. This is why we got to go back and explain Stretch and Bobbito. Bobbito had a label called Fondulum Records, where his label, much like Eastern Conference, and of the more prestigious Raucous Records, which had Black Star, Eminem, and Pharoah Monch, and was doing big things over there. Like Fondulum and Eastern Conference are kind of the people that like you wanted a hip hop fix in New York or New Jersey, and it's like you would get anything else because it's dope. But these labels are not the reason why you're buying this. Somewhat, somewhat, maybe. I was never there at that time, but it's just what I'm going off of. So Fondulum Records is famous for introducing the world to Doom when Daniel
Oh yeah,
Dimmerling showed up
that is
with
actually
the
a pretty good
mask. They
connection. All that.
they released the Dead Bent single and Hey before Operation Doomsday, and Operation Doomsday is entirely a Fondulum effort. After that, um, Bobito somewhat shut down the label, but they released one more project called Fondulum Fossils, which was then distributed on LP's Definitive Jux label, which would become the home for all of the Eastern Conference rejects, all of the raucous people that didn't want to be there, underground West that just couldn't find a home. Def Jux was the place to go for that. And that's where Tame One found himself tangentially to. He never released anything with Definitive Jux definitively, but he had a lot of support and friendships, and his Weatherman brothers were all over there. So he definitely featured and worked with them on projects. But back to Tame One, one album they did release on Leak Rose. Damn it, I spoiled the whole thing. Anyways, the thing that they got off of Eastern Conference before they both left was Leak Brothers, a concept album about stay away from drugs, kids, the dangers of PCP,
And that's exactly
and
what it's
treating it
about. That is exactly what it's about, honestly. Honest to God.
honest. Honestly, we are not advocating for this. The music's hard, okay? Nobody should, you know, be like, these guys were advocating and celebrating this because it doesn't sound like a fun trip if you listen to the lyrics.
It's from the same
Sounds like
era where you get Eminem and Slim Shady talking about popping Vicodins and whatever.
Purple Hills. Am I right?
So you know the
Speaking
era.
of speaking of the Eminem connection, really quick,
Yeah, don't
Eminem was
forget.
running in those circles
Em-
around Raucous and Eastern Conference, and was in Jersey with the Outsiders and Lauryn Hill, and just friggin' well, not Lauryn Hill, but like probably just he was around New Jersey and New York before Dre discovered him. Funny enough, there's a video floating around about how Dre and Eminem lied about them meeting up and everything, and just that is not the way that they got introduced and how he was signed. Probably because they're missing all of the Jersey history that goes alongside it. But getting back to Eminem, he has a song called Last Hit with High and Mighty off the Eastern Conference All Stars 3 record that is just phenomenal. Slim Shady, just one of my favorites. But now back
It's
to
the one
Tame,
I
one of
listen
Sweet
to
Brother.
get my when I need that Eminem fix. I just listen to that song and then I'm good because the way, yeah, that's it. Like he just that's the pinnacle. I feel like for me because it's early on, but
Yes,
it's still good. It's not too early. It's
yeah.
not.
It was during the Outsiders run of the whole like
And
version
honestly,
of his
for me,
career.
it's because he's on that song with Mr. E, and yeah, you get like a Tame One song on the same record. So how do you not listen to that song? Even me.
Mm-hmm. And that brings us to, well, I mean, he did have a feature on Nighthawks. I guess we could talk about Nighthawks really quickly. So, Eastern Conference, they were wild label.
He
Probably too
did.
many drugs to count, and just you know, they never canceled their porn subscription. That is definitely two things about the Eastern Conference: loves sports, loves women, loves drugs. That was lit. So
You make it sound
when
so
Cage Channels,
easy.
you make it sound so easy, but you got to think about the time and the placement of a lot of these industries, like vivisecting into each other. Where Eastern Conference has put out an album that Tolkien has and is very near and dear to his heart called Smut Peddlers. And Smut Peddlers, I don't know if there's anything more on that
He's
record, but
thanked in it. He is thanked in it. I checked the notes on the back. I'll bring it up on the video here so people can see while you move on or whatever. But yes, he is
okay,
thanked by Cage in the liner notes, and that's it. But his influence is huge in everything, so it's cool to talk about.
yeah, Smut Peddlers is High and Mighty and Cage, if people are wondering. And a lot of this music is wow, okay? Late 90s, you really want to cancel Eminem for something, cancel Smut Peddlers for everything. That's just how that has to work if you want to go that route. Me, I don't cancel anything and just let artists be artists and just be like, wow, this was a different time for sure. Well, let's explain the different time, shall we? For a record to even get made
Yeah,
like
I
that,
found it.
there was an
Mighty
era
My
of
actually thanks Tame One on Smut
interesting,
Peddlers, so he gets
but there
pretty
was,
early.
well, that's good. There was this time in the USA, New York in general, where people were craving uncensored content. There was Howard Stern show, for example, and people would be buying those videos, buying those outlets. I think Smut Peddlers even had endorsements by a sex shop or something like that.
Yes, they were sold
It all
in
ties together.
some freaky place. The record, probably the record that I just held up. No,
Yeah. Well, back in this wild, wild west of explicitness. There was an artist named Beetlejuice who was a tiny co-host for Howard Stern that became the unofficial mascot of all
He
Eastern
was
Conference,
he was
especially
on
the
Howard
smart stuff.
Stern show like as a in the freaks or whatever section, and then he became popular on there.
Yes. So that's how like culture of filth created, you know, some pretty filthy music. But a little bit of a different take was the Project Nighthawks, which was recorded in 2 weeks and was by Cage and fallen Weatherman megahertz rapper Nuteo. The album is them remaking the 1980s crime movie Nighthawks with Sylvester Stallone and Billy D. Williams as two dirty cops who are going to clean the city, and they the beats sound like late 80s crime movies, like just having that synth and sounding like something from Walter Hill, which is interesting because Tame One is featured on a project later in his career called White Guy, Black Guy Buddy Movie, which is like a spiritual successor to Nighthawks. Not really, but like in the visuals and the like some of its parts, it's almost spiritual successor, I would say. Even though it has nothing to do with the actual cops and taking down crime,
I
it
mean, I
has a
never
lot of
thought of
the
that, but you know, we could ask the people who made. I could ask TMFSC if there was any inspiration or if that, because that does. What I would say is it's like another 48 hours if it was an album, or 48 hours if it was an album. So like that, and the
yeah,
Nighthawks is the same idea, right? It's just like that same idea.
yeah, two cops and just
Nighthawks is more general, where white guy, black guy buddy movie is like it's like a straight up supposed to be 48 hours. Nighthawks
and
might
then
be like more other movies like that. What are other movies? Like what's the other one? Lethal Weapon. But
Lethal
there's
Weapon,
Lethal Weapon stuff in black guy, white guy buddy movie.
Last Boy Scout. They have a line from that in there.
So it's just like that genre of film turned into an album. Plus, it's, I don't know. I like Grief 78 and TMFSE almost better than Camus and Cage. But that's hard to say. Because Camus and Cage, I just don't think they delivered the best on that album. But that album was made in like a week or something. That's why.
Yeah, I think the beats really carried that album, but
Oh, yeah.
it's definitely one that rolls really, really fast. Really, like
Yeah.
it's something that I would like to latch more onto, but really, there's not much to latch onto that project. It's pretty
The
right
one I
there
do,
on
I'm always like
and
this, cop hell, cop hell. But I just like, I don't really like that song. I just think it's funny. Anytime something happens with cops or hell,
I
it's
like I
in
like
my
the
head.
car chase one with Metro. Calling car 54. It's a
That
raid.
one's
It's a
really good.
grenade.
Just the Nighthawks title track is like amazing or
That's also on Eastern Conference. All Stars 3
whatever. Mm-hmm.
is Nighthawks. Really, 3 and 4 is the best Eastern Conference, and two, that was all their releases on that album, so you could
Yeah.
kind of see the writing on the wall for that label. It wasn't much longer before they were bought out
Mm-hmm.
and all of rap was not the same.
But remember
But
what I
now
said,
we gotta
Tame
go.
said about Eastern Conference? I could find it if I need. That they treated him the most fair out of any label that he ever was, which just shows you how fair a label will treat you. And that's going to show you why Tame One eventually like becomes so mad at the industry that it's more his solo career stuff that he would do.
Yes, because Eastern Conference was a good home. Now, other people have different experiences with the label. Kind of understand, honestly, because FM Megahertz was a Fondlem property, and that should have gone to Eastern Conference. But because of that, we never got a Megahertz project until Man Bites Dog, which became Copyright's True Home, and like Vast Air's True Home, funny enough, after
Man
Cannibal Ox
bites
fell
dog.
the
Well,
F
some like yeah.
But now we should move on to what came next, Spasmatic or the Old Jersey Bastard?
Did you talk about OG Bobby Johnson?
We haven't yet, but I'm like that doesn't come out till much later. So
It came out before Spasmatic.
it did.
It's
I
Eastern
thought OG Bobby
Conference.
Johnson was like 2008.
It's 2005. The Old Jersey Bastard is 2008, and that's Amalgam Digital, which is what I was gonna say. Was that Tame went to Amalgam Digital, and I love Amalgam Digital.
Malcolm Digital. You know, there was going to be a group with cannabis, Chino
Yeah,
XL,
on Amalgam
Tame One,
Digital.
and copyright produced by Stu Bangas, and never can happen.
Yeah, that would have
Never.
been the best, but in the parallel universe. No, yeah, OG Bobby Johnson is the real Eastern Conference release. Yeah, there's because when Rappers Attack is High Times Records, I guess is what I'm looking at. Although it comes out on Eastern Conference through other stuff, if
Oh,
that makes sense. Because that's why those songs are on other albums or whatever. It's just because when Rappers
interesting.
Attack is old, actually, it came out in 2003, and then it might have got a re release
This
on Eastern Conference around the same time or something. There's also
this
leaked
is
to the
all.
public. Do you know what that is? It's just like has Get a Jar on it, basically, which, is the G. Bobby Johnson. So that was like stuff
Yeah,
leaked to the public before Eastern Conference got their hands on it, mixed it a little, whatever.
interesting. And that further explains another thing, like we were talking about with the Smut Sellers releases. Eastern Conference was getting these records out not through Walmart or Target or fucking any place like that. They would have to go to High Times. They would have to go to sex shops. They would have to go to Fat Beats, probably,
Mm-hmm.
and sell their inventory, sell whatever they could. There was no like, we're going to reorder all of this. It's probably like the initial run is gone, and like we'll see what people respond to about that. It's very hard to find much information on the releases of these projects and like how much it sold and stuff like
Oh,
that
yeah.
probably,
That too. That definitely.
which which doesn't matter. I mean, I feel like a
You're
lot
the
of
one.
music criticism and analysis is based off of that. Like, oh, the artist sold this much and they didn't do this, so they freaking
Mm-hmm.
suck or whatever.
Well,
Not
with the
understanding the
Tame one
multiple factors.
especially, it's all these different records. You got High Times Records for when Rappers Attack, self-released when he just leaked to the public. Eastern Conference for OG Bobby Johnson. Spasmatic is on Blazin' Records. The Grudge, Division East. Old Jersey Bastard, Amalgam Digital. Acetab Vocab is Parallel Thought Ltd. Heller the High Waters on Slang Corp. So it's like where the money is actually made for other people. This guy, for 10 years, helped a lot of people make money, not just himself, you know.
He helped
Squadzilla,
a lot of underground labels that still exist to this day.
if you listen to
And
like Squadzilla, it's self released, but then he eventually puts it out on Bling Not Media, meaning he just like helps people make money somehow again.
I've listened to Swadzilla once, and honestly, I thought that was the grudge. I was, uh, uh,
Yeah.
I need to listen to Swadzilla again and see if that holds up.
Well,
But I think on Swadzilla was the song like the friggin' Young Z Tame One song, the one that they were doing for the Burnouts project.
yeah, stuff like that. The Squadzilla song I recommend is the one where he's talking about him dying, basically. It's called Mourn. It's like a 7 minute song or something about, it's like instructions for his death, basically. And that's in 2014, 2015 that he was already planning, like, or in his music. It's like that's the song that speaks to you after his death for sure. And it's like sad,
Yeah,
but also amazing that he's so like
there's a
premonition-y.
there's also the Jersey Old Bastard song, like the last one where he talked about he's depressed and suicidal and he's not going to see a therapist about it. His life doesn't get better and he's just going to rock it as he does. And I don't know if that was recorded when they re-released the album after his passing, or like that was a track that was on the original one, but that might have even
I'm pretty sure
predated.
it's on the original.
There's a lot of good songs on there. JD's
Oh
Son of Dan,
yeah,
the one.
I don't know
There's like
actually.
a Del
It could
song
be an
on there.
after the thing, but I don't think it is. With the old
I
Jersey
really like
Bass,
the
I like Move uh, featuring Mr. Turner.
ooh, that's a good one. I like
Like,
Hottie Rock with Sean Price where he's playing the bongos and shit in the back where it's like
yeah, that whole album is good.
mm-hmm. Like Parallel Thoughts production, like Tame One
Aren't you the
is a
one that
great
likes Spasmatic
MC to
though?
listen. I do like Spasmatic a lot.
I mean, not that
Spasmatic
I don't like
is like
Spasmatic, but like I don't really listen to it a ton. It's good. It's on
if you
SoundCloud,
like
which is the
Danny
best.
Brown, if you like some scare in the hose, you like some abstract. This man is going to go
Yeah,
brow 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 brow
Spasmatic is
brow brow brow
that's
brow.
my favorite part actually. But yeah,
He does that on like he does that on Acid Tab Vocab or something
he
like
does
that.
it on
Where
Hell or the
it's like,
High Water for
mm,
Slang Corp. But yeah,
uh,
it's better in Spasmatic almost. Spasmatic just sounds more classic for sure.
those beats are
It's like
insane.
it's
I
honestly
remember.
his last classic record. The one, every single one after that sounds almost too good. Not that that's bad, because honestly, Tame One with better production is better. Everything after The Grudge
Yeah,
and The Grudge is like the best. But Spasmatic is your last, like, okay, we got classic sound.
yeah, we got the classic. Don't give a fuck. We're going to blackout on every track, and we're just like the beats are going to sound like this a fucking 1980s
Yeah,
Kraftwerk
it's the old
Tom Tom plug.
beats.
Your SPS just fucking exploded, and you're you're just rapping over all these fucking frenetic kicks and snares and shit, and beatboxing and like goddamn weird sounds. And
Just looking at his solo career, it's like this is the best hip hop resume you could ever have. He worked for everyone, with every producer. Either that, or it's like what he says in the Hell or the High Water, about 3 or 4 consecutive producers, meant to say exclusive. It's like, why does he
exclusive.
do that? Is it because he's hard to work with, or because he's so easy to work with? We don't really know. nor do we want to know.
We don't. Well, he just records, takes the records, and you know. But that's also a song off Color High Water.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. The
Record.
biggest thing about what Tame does is he tells you in his lyrics how to be original and how to, you know, how he does it so that you can learn something.
You can, especially in Acid Tab and Hell and High Water. He talks about being very original. Now, Hell or High Water has the first song. Holy shit, that's my favorite Joe Waffle beat that man's ever produced.
Yeah, Junk
Oh,
Waffle too. Rest in peace, Junk Waffle.
oh, and yes, 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 yes. But I feel like the Parallel Thought albums, like if somebody liked, for example, Sean Price or MF Doom or like later deceased rappers' projects, I feel like the Parallel Thought stuff is like what's going to get people into Tame One.
Yeah,
The grudge, I mean, the grudging Parallel Thought, but that still is a great produced record as well. And like his rapping is totally
the Grudge
pissed off at the
has
industry.
the Grudge is if you like Slang Corp already, then you gotta listen to that one, sort of thing. Or if you go listen to Slang Corp right now and you like it, then that's what you should listen to because it's
For
that style.
for
It's like
people,
Shape producing some of it.
yes, for people that don't know, Sling Corp is a New Jersey collective that included the man from somewhere else, GDP, Shape, G Wallace, Larry Hobson, um,
Shout out to Larry Lunchbox
Brief
Hobbs.
doesn't need
TMFSE? Did you see that? Oh, I think you did.
yeah,
Pistol.
yeah.
Pistol Pete.
This one.
I forget about him because he disappeared, sort of. But he's out there somewhere, being like a terrorist or something.
So is Shape. But speaking
Shape
of, I
is on
mean,
a
this is such
farm
an
working
odd.
with goats. Did you know that?
I did not. I listened to his last House album or whatever that record was. The first one with uh with the G Wallace song that I can't think of the name of, but we
Yeah,
used to
G
love that song.
Wallace. Anyway, I'm gonna show some of the.
But yeah, I listened to the rest of that album. That was like very wow. It drops off the second half. Um, that's okay. Not all of them hit, but it's nice to see that Shape has other albums out, and so does GDP. They keep putting in work. I don't know about the rest of the guys, but GDP's man, what is that first album called? Realistic Expectations, I think it's called.
Of Shape?
Of
Oh,
GDP.
GDP. Yeah.
Unrealistic Expectations. Yeah, it's Realistic Expectations. But that album's really, really good if you want to get into some slangcore audience. That album, holy hell. Um, the song Gonzo Journalism is just
I like that song.
psychedelic, just uh, some sometimes people just don't make beats like that, and you really want to beat the sound like that.
Yeah, there is
Um,
a lot.
get getting back to Tame One, his projects with Parallel Thought was what really got me into him, and one that I listened to a bunch when Tolkien was showing me Tame One was a little album he did with Parallel Thought and West Coast underground legend Del the Funky Homo Sapien called Parallel Universes, a album where they sent the verses back, but the chemistry is there. It's quite awesome, actually,
I like that
where
album. I like the song
rappers
Teddy.
are Eddie's really good. There's a beat on there that actually has was featured in Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Boys because the Menahan Street Band, which was a soul jazz band from like 2004 2005, was getting heavily sampled and heavily used in a bunch of like songs. Like Kid Cudi used them for Mr. Solo Dolo. Yeah, that song. And there is a Menahan Street sample loop in Parallel Universes
Mm-hmm.
um, that is in Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars, a game that honestly I want to check the PSP version and see if there's actual lyrics or if it's just that loop. Because that would be awesome if they somehow got a track from that album into that game. Because that would just be awesome. Considering there's like Doom and Ghostface, Guilty Simpson, just friggin' a bunch of awesome music. Alchemist has a radio station there, and Gangrene was forming, which is just just some dope hip hop. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
get into Gangrene one day, but like best videos about Tame. I know I keep saying that, but these tangents are important to show the love and connection of why these people would work together, why these people would listen to each other, why these people would be in the same vicinity or be mentioned in the same space as other artists. So Tane kind of kept it, I would say, his releases slowed down around the 2000s, the 2020s, the 20 teens. There was a little less output, but it was because fellow New Jersey native and Outsiders member Young Z was putting together an album that unfortunately didn't see the light of day until Tame's passing. That album was called The Burnouts, and I've heard some cuts off of it. I haven't heard the whole album, but it is experimental to say the least. Like there are some fire songs, but like the Hendrix song was the one that like I would show people and they'd be like, I don't like this at all. This is just way too wild for me. But out of the established hip hop scene, that shit just kicks ass. And it's just some rock. Sometimes you just need some
Mm-hmm.
people to kick the door down for a different style to approach.
Yeah.
And that's what Tame One would constantly do. There are songs where I thought he was just babbling on a track, and I just needed to open my ears and just realize he was making different voices with his like rap persona mostly. He was having songs where he would do non sequiturs, he would make like really insane jokes. He has a song called Kick the Bitch off of Acid Tab Vocab. Probably something that would get him canceled
No,
today.
no, I love
Um,
that song. I scream it full blast in the streets. I love to
Hey, if
jog
Tyler
to
the
it.
Creator's going to get canceled over his shit every year, I mean, there has to be a balance, okay? These people would have a myocardial infarction at maximum if they heard that. Just,
I love that
it's
song.
it's a good song.
Ike
I'm just saying in the
Tina
culture.
Turner. Ike Tina Turner. The references. Yeah. Anyway, we should wrap it up here soon because it's
We
almost
should.
been an hour and there's other things. I do want to mention that Darlene Brown Harris is on Facebook, Instagram, and you can still go get Tame One merchandise. You can still, there's still hope of Tame One albums. Like, it's not done.
Yeah,
And
much
like,
like Sean Price
and
has
tomorrow's
escaped
his death
as
day,
a,
so we should do another hour on him, you know?
we should do another hour.
Or listen to the
I wanted
records
to.
if we're done chatting it.
We should do that. I would give
We could
you a
listen to
playlist maybe
songs.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Send you some of the highlighted songs and stuff, and
Yeah.
do reactions and stuff even that we haven't seen. Like, because you haven't heard the new Artifacts album at all,
Yeah, I have.
I assume. I keep saying that, but like I don't because the
I heard
tracks
it a
that
long
they
time ago, whenever it came out. And I was like, yep, there it is. It's just, you know how it is with Elda Sensei. That's really. We could have talked about things like that more, but I think the first hour is good to keep it light. But maybe tomorrow we
yeah
get into some of that and why, like, some of the
yeah
deeper
why this
dramas and such.
for real. I mean, there's definitely a lot of love for Kane, even in his passing. I would say, Rodiga shouted him out,
Yeah. No.
and just he
Even
was.
Elda Sensei or anyone I'm like this, it's like it's all love.
It is. I mean, he was a New Jersey punchline king before Redman. Before Redman, you got to give Tame One his props because he certainly put his stamp. And not to discredit Redman, but like that style, it's interesting. There's one point I did want to make before we wrap this up. With Redman's albums getting signed to Def Jam and everything like that, and having way more funkier production, it was almost like the cartoon, outrageous, exaggerated version of what New Jersey hip hop could be. Not saying that's a bad thing or anything. I love the Redman
That's what I'm.
album,
Yeah, I
but
always liked that aspect. I understand what you're saying.
Artifacts, they had the grounded street level, like these people like did rap, did graffiti, were proud of it, was proud to like show up at a mom and pop store with a backpack, mic, just do the show and leave. Like a lot of the back and forth middleman politics and bullshit just wasn't there. And that's like the purest hip hop find that you can find. And that is pretty special that they were able to keep that scene and that element alive for so long. Considering that many people either do it and don't get recognized or just don't do it at all to that level.
No,
Redman is
yeah.
still shouting out Tame One.
I was gonna say, I
Still,
think
I mean,
Redman's a good example of like, do they really get that far without having Redman be the MC that really
we
holds
we
it
could talk
down?
about
And
humor.
Tame
I
one.
think Redman and Tame's humor is funnier than,
It's
most of these artists because it's in the same vein of a really good joke. It's a
it's
really good joke
well,
with build up and punchline
mm, yeah, and delivery,
and delivery, of course. Like
flow.
it's
It's got a
just
good composition of every element. Is what is important. I feel like.
to close this off. I think one track that the listeners should listen to is actually a Tame One solo cut off that Artifacts That's an album, and that is the Ingredients of Time Travel.
That's a good one.
That
I would listen
should
to
be
that
your
one
introduction to Tame
because
One.
it does the drug references, it does everything, and all the while it doesn't make you like. Even if you don't like that, you're still gonna like that track.
Yeah, there's even he references an acid pad vocab, which I really appreciated and liked. Like
Yeah,
he
it'll also
references
help you
this as
later
own song.
if you get into it because you'll get the references.
PPP is another one that is like just classic Tame. Frank Drebin, Reason for Smoking sections. You can't forget these.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like
Well,
yeah, I think that does it.
you better let me get to work. And the last thing I want to say is that it's election night and Kamala is losing pretty hard right now, and that
Yeah.
Darlene is a Kamala fan. That's all I'm gonna say. So we got Dame One Spirit. We'll see what happens. We'll talk
We'll
about
see what
that
happens.
stuff like on a different thing, but it does pertain a tiny bit. So I brought it up at the end.
Well, that's tasteful. I think our political commentary was, respectful for this type of video. And
Well,
we
and
will dive
tomorrow's his
more
death
into
day, and we'll know the election results. It just happens to be the same day. Different videos,
a
maybe.
lot a lot of content's going to come out of this derivativeness, so stay tuned and we'll catch you next time.
Perfect. Perfect.